Welcome. This is the Philip Koerper Show. I'm Philip Koerper. This is episode 58, October 27th. Really excited to be with you guys here today. I want to lead off with this story of Shepard Smith yesterday with the breaking news of, it's just amazing. This story, if you remember yesterday, if you listened to the podcast, I went over Scott McKay's article in the American Spectator. And this is entitled Stop Apologizing for the Mail Bomb Clown. I mean, this is uncanny. Scott McKay just nailed this on the head. He wrote this story. I went over it yesterday in my podcast. This story is dated yesterday, October 26th. And he talks about how this guy is probably going to be apprehended soon. And probably this guy is just a complete lunatic. Well, it turns out he was exactly right. Okay, is exactly right. And then we've apprehended this guy who sent these devices off. They seem to be pretty rudimentary, but I guess they meet the definition of a bomb because they have kind of like I can't remember exactly, but they have a source that can combust. They have a source that can start the combustion and like a trigger or something. It had a clock. So anyhow, I want to show you this interchange. Actually, yesterday I saw this live, and I couldn't believe what I was watching. Now, I know my video, audio-visual capabilities with this podcast are very rudimentary. I apologize. Once this podcast gets more successful, I'll be able to invest more time and energy into the production. But I want you to watch this interchange here. This is a little bit long, but I want you to watch this interchange here between Shepard Smith so Shepard Smith of Fox News is live and he's going on. I want you to see this.
Back to you. John Roberts on the North Lawn. Have a great weekend. Thanks, John. Starting to Chris Wallace now, who's to Fox News Sunday. Chris, you just can't ignore the politics of all this, even if you wanted to. These are people the president has gone after rhetorically. These are people this guy targeted. He's a big supporter. It goes to the tone and tenor of the political discourse and the words that the president uses in his rallies.
Yeah.
Yes, but, and the but is that I don't think you can draw any particular link or any responsibility on the part of the president for this action. I mean, as Sarah Sanders said, and as was just repeated by John Roberts, a Bernie Sanders supporter shot up the congressman at the baseball practice. Is Bernie Sanders responsible for that?
No one said he was responsible. I'm just saying the rhetorical discourse in this country has devolved over time, and the president says we need to unify. Well, some of that begins with the rhetoric, does it not?
Well, it would certainly be good, but I think it's separate and apart from the actions of this guy. This is a twisted person. There are 300 million Americans, and they may be part of the fierce political debate in the country, but they don't put explosive devices and
right, but when you have this rhetoric, what do you worry about? But when you talk like this, the concern is that one crazy one might then get empowered. We don't know what happened in this case. But overall, Chris...
Well, we do know what happened.
We don't know if he goes, President Trump hates him, so I'm going to go target him. We don't know any of that kind of stuff.
But what difference does it make, Shep? The fact is, no, it's a twisted individual, and to hold President Trump responsible...
I didn't hold him responsible, Chris, come on now.
That's the clear implication
No,
of what
the
you're saying.
idea is not. Now, let's be fair, Chris.
I agree, Shep, let's be fair.
The rhetoric from the podium, the CNN sucks chants, the lock her up chants, all the rest, it doesn't bring unity.
I agree it doesn't bring unity, but it also doesn't bring explosive devices.
No one said it does, but to ignore the elephant in the room is just, it's a fool's folly.
I think that it's really incorrect to somehow hold the president either by implication or directly responsible in any way for the misdeeds of a person who's a psychopath or a sociopath.
No one did that, though, Chris, and don't say I did. All I said was, when the rhetoric gets loud, the crazies come out sometime.
And that's drawing a cause and an effect that I think is unrealistic and unfair.
I just said we have an issue.
You said when the rhetoric gets loud, the crazies come out. That's a cause and effect, Shep.
Okay.
It doesn't exist.
Okay, but you can say it doesn't exist. We'll see what exists here. All I'm saying is that when from the largest microphones, from the highest plateaus, what we're getting is divisive, television stations suck, and lock her up and all the rest. It's new and it seems unhelpful, and both sides have said that, separate apart from what just happened here. But that billboard there, the rolling billboard, it's not nothing. It's a rolling billboard of a lot
Again,
of the
I would
rhetoric
simply
that we
point
hear
out
all
that
day.
Bernie Sanders had certain views and was a devout Bernie Sanders supporter who shot up the Republicans, and I don't think you can hold Bernie Sanders responsible. He had rhetoric that was strong. I'm not comparing his rhetoric to the president's, but I don't hold him responsible any more than I hold President Trump responsible. This is the act of a criminal.
Back at the time when the Bernie Sanders stuff was true, people said it then too.
And it was wrong then.
Okay, well, it was wrong
And
then.
it's wrong now. Now, it's a separate. Let me just say, it's a separate issue about the political rhetoric in this country, and I think it's unfortunate, and I think it's a very bad thing. But I think it's very dangerous to draw links between that and links of any sort between that and criminal activity.
History will decide what the rhetoric has done in this society.
I'll wait for history.
I'll wait for it too.
Okay.
I hope you have a good weekend, Chris.
Oh, no, I mean, this is that the most unbelievable? Shepard Smith, do you remember? Boy, I really don't like this guy. He gets so emotional. He just freaks out and he has no reason. Do you remember when he got all impassioned about the Donald separating families at the border? I mean, the guy just started crying on his show, and he just gets completely irrational. Chris Wallace is exactly right, 100% right. Shepard Smith is just completely contradicting himself. Did you see that? Could you hear that on the podcast? He says, when this rhetoric is really intense, these people just go shooting. I mean, that is baloney. These crazy people go do stupid stuff all the time. Okay, all the time. And so this rhetoric, we are debating politics. We are going to have different rhetoric. Both sides are going to speak up. This is debate. This is political debate. And there are going to be crazy people. Who knows? We're just learning about this guy. He was a male stripper. He was working at Papa John's. He's like 58 years old, 56 years old. Supposedly he's Native American descent. I'm not quite sure if that's true. The guy was living in a van, with a bunch of, CNN, with a CNN sucks sticker on it, and then also a bunch of pro-Trump. The guy is seen at a rally, apparently, with like a CNN sucks sign. I mean, who knows? This guy is a complete lunatic. As maybe I could use Barry Obama's words here, that he's a lone wolf. Do you remember when that guy got radicalized in Kansas City or St. Louis area? And then he went down to Dallas and he shot and killed 17 police officers. This guy was a Black Lives Matters guy. I mean, oh, wow. And Barry just said, oh, it's a lone wolf, lone wolf. And then the chief of police down in Dallas goes, oh, we don't feel very much support coming from D.C. Oh, and then Barry was in big doo-doo and he had to grovel and immediately fly down to Dallas and have some big, thing down there to kind of show that he really cared about these police officers. This is truly, really amazing. Shep Smith says when this rhetoric gets really bad, these shootings start, is basically what he's saying. Chris Wallace is saying there is no correlation there, okay? You can't blame the political rhetoric for causing people just going ballistic. This guy apparently has a big, long criminal record. That's how the FBI nailed this guy, because there was fingerprints on one of the packages that he sends. And they got him, and DNA. They got him because this guy is a criminal. So this guy was not radicalized by Donald Trump. This guy was a lunatic even before then, and a criminal. So anyhow, when I was watching this, I was just like, whoa, what Shepard Smith is totally unglued, interrupting Chris Wallace. I mean, that guy's gotta go. He's gotta go. And we're going to talk a little bit about Megyn Kelly here. But I just shocked. Charlie Kirk has this tweet. It's so funny. There's a picture of this dilapidated building, and it says "Your City on Socialism." Then there's a picture of these people like blood all over, bloody, like they look like they're in some third world, emergency room or improvised thing. And then there's a picture of "Your Hospital on Socialism." And then there's a picture of them at a grocery store, and I've got an article referring to this. "Your grocery store on socialism." A bunch of shelves, and there's like nothing on the shelves. And then there's a picture of this huge mansion. "Your politicians on socialism." I mean, that is the truth about socialism. Just the Politburo, just the elitists. They live this huge life of luxury. And then everyone else, all of us, are just, we're all just poor. All very poor, with terrible conditions. I just love capitalism, and where it gives us the unfettered capitalism, where it gives us the opportunity to succeed and to work hard and to make a lot of money, and then everyone who works hard like this can really enjoy those kind of blessings. I really like that. Here's a story I found on the Daily Caller. Moving on is to Barry Obama. Now he's out there now. He's out there trying to help people and stuff. And he's talking about, we have not seen lying just blatantly. He says politicians are just blatantly, repeatedly, baldly, shameless lying. Okay, so Barry's out in Wisconsin, and he's campaigning, and he's talking, he's saying, let me be clear. Listen, through human history, certainly throughout American history, politicians have exaggerated. They make promises that they may try to fulfill, but then it turns out to be harder than they expected. They pump up things that they did that are good. They downplay the things that they did that aren't so good. They try to put a positive spin on things. But what we have not seen before in our recent public life, at least, is politicians just blatantly, repeatedly, baldly, shamelessly lying. Okay. Whoa! We have never seen this before until... What are you referring to, Barry? I'm confused. Are you talking about Donald Trump? Well, I think you are. I think you are really blaming Donald Trump. Oh my, and oh no. As you notice in that video, if you are watching on YouTube, I'm getting all these notifications. Donald's in a Twitter storm. He's up and going. And I love it. And so, okay, let's wait. Let's just take a peek. Let's just go back just a little bit and try to remember the dark days of Barry's presidency. When we were mired in this very itty bitty economic growth, job growth was not so great. Unemployment numbers were high. Remember, Barry said that he signed into law the biggest middle class tax cut in history. Remember when he said that in 2011? Oh, you might recall that. That was the making work pay provision in his stimulus package. Oh, back when we were doing stimulus packages. Oh, well, it turned out that it was based on dubious math, according to the Washington Compost. So it looks like JFK and George W. Bush signed in bigger tax cuts. Oh, well. And then remember the Affordable Care Act? His promise, if you like your health care plan, you can keep it. Oh, whoa, no. Obamacare didn't allow that. All these riders were put on insurance companies. My health insurance skyrocketed in costs. Oh yeah, so that was a big lie. You couldn't keep those policies. And then remember Benghazi. How can we ever forget? I just watched 13 Hours again. I mean, I encourage you to watch that movie. That it's frustrating, it's anguishing movie to watch, knowing that American aid could have come and helped, but no, that didn't happen. Remember, Ambassador Christopher Stevens was killed, and 3 others in the terrorist attack, and then right after it happened, they the then president later tried to spin his comments. He said it was an act of terrorism. Okay, Obama referred vaguely to act of terror, but after 2 weeks, of course, the Washington Compost, no conservative rag is the Washington Compost, reports that over a period of 2 weeks, given 3 opportunities in interviews to have firmly agreed that the Benghazi attack was a terrorist attack, the president obfuscated or ducked the question. So I'm sorry, yeah, so he was asked about a terrorist attack and he said no. No, this was organized, just out of the blue, spontaneously organized from a YouTube video, okay? Those were pure out and out lies. And even Hillary Clinton, we have emails of her emailing, I think it was Egypt, knowing that it was a 9/11 terrorist attack type of thing. So Barry, it looks like we're calling you out on that we don't believe what you say there, Barry. Okay, blaming Trump for just bold-faced lying is just ridiculous. Okay, so I love pretty much anything that Walter D. Williams writes, great economist. And so this is, I'm switching gears a little bit, but this is a pet peeve. The socialism where there's nothing in the grocery stores. It's like Venezuela when Maduro just said, well, we're just going to lower prices in the grocery store so you guys can afford things. Well, then everything's gone. And this is a pet peeve of mine I have when we have these storms go in. We've got all of these states have got these anti-gouging laws and this gouging, and this is horrible. And the media goes berserk on this. Fox News with Florence was just going, and then Michael just going end to end on the gouging thing. And now, okay, so gouging's bad. So what do? Oh, we make it illegal. Oh yes, let's just make it illegal. Let's make another law, and therefore we'll have no more gouging. Oh, this is extremely frustrating. And this is just pure economics, okay? This is just pure economics. This is a great article in the Daily Wire by Walter E. Williams entitled Price Gouging During a Natural Disaster. Okay, so my question is so Walter E. Williams, let's use his example. It's probably better than mine. So these 2 people, these 2 families, they live on the coast. They need to drive inland. One car is 3/4 of the tank is full. They can make it inland safely. And then the other family has their tank is only 1/4 full. And they don't have enough gasoline to make it inland to safety. Okay. So what should we do? I mean, this is the dilemma. Now, the governor could say, well, don't buy any gas if you don't need it. If people are going to listen. No. Okay, there's going to be a run to the gas stations. Okay, it's human nature. It happens, and so it's just the way it goes. But if the gasoline station cannot raise their prices, okay. So if the gasoline station did raise their prices, the guys with 3/4 of a tank probably wouldn't buy any gas there because it's really expensive out on the coast, and they're going to drive inland and they can refill their gasoline tank once they're inland and they're safe. But the guys who've got 1/4 of a tank, they really need gasoline, okay? But if the gas stations don't raise their prices out on the coast, all the gas is gone. It's immediately gone. Okay, but if they raise their prices to meet demand, then the people who don't really need gasoline aren't going to buy it, and then there'll be more gasoline for those people who really need it, and they can pay a premium for it. This is how capitalism works. This is how supply and demand works. So Walter E. Williams just makes it's this very eloquent point, which I think is really very obvious, okay, is that, and this is what he says, what I think would make gasoline available to those who really need it is to raise prices. Suppose the pre-hurricane price of gas was $2.60 a gallon. As the hurricane approaches, dealers could let their price rise to $4 a gallon. That would give families who have enough gas to evacuate incentive to voluntarily forego purchasing gasoline. Their voluntary decision would make more gas available for people who desperately need it. By the way, gas available at $4 a gallon seems more preferable than gas stations shut down because they have sold out of gas at $2.60. See, it's so obvious. So obvious. So let the prices on goods just let them go. Let them go. And yes, no one really likes to buy gas that originally was $2.60 a gallon and now it's $4. This is profit for the gas stations. Oh, yes, it is. But that profit margin really actually makes it gasoline more readily available. It's a brilliant, this Adam Smith invisible hand stuff is really real. Okay, it's really real. And I love it. I love in America where the prices are not fixed for most things, although the government increasingly is trying to regulate everything to try to keep it fair, just like this anti-gouging laws. On the outside, it sounds really pretty fair, but really when push comes to shove and you really need gas for your car and the gas stations are all closed because they're out of gas because people topped off their tanks because the gas was the same price, well, there you have it. Then you don't have gas. O'Donnell continues to tweet. I love it. We'll go over that later. So that's a great article from Walter Williams. Okay, this now I don't want to spend too much time on this article, but this is just really amazing. If you guys have time to read this American Spectator article, this is by Dove Fisher, and this is just brilliant. This is brilliant. And this is called Darkness at NBC, the re-education of Megyn Kelly. This is just truly amazing. So I mentioned earlier, now apparently Megyn Kelly, with her little Today Show extension, she's gone. Okay, she's gone. Apparently she had some 3-year, $65 million contract, something like that. She's gone. Okay, and so this article is just truly amazing. And he goes off and he talks about Megyn Kelly. Now, I don't watch a whole lot of TV, and so I didn't really know who Megyn Kelly was until the Donald and her got into that firestorm. But anyhow, this author, Dove Fisher, he talks about Megyn Kelly, and he just freaked out over, he said, my last straw with her despicable 8-minute interview of Newt Gingrich in October 2016, exactly 2 years ago. It was a disgraceful moment, a Fox debacle that most of us conservatives never will forget. You can, and he has a link that you can listen to it today. A fortnight ahead of the elections, Newt boldly predicted that Trump would win Florida, Pennsylvania, Iowa, Indiana, and the GOP would hold the Senate. And she attacked him bitterly on each. I had forgotten that Newt was a clairvoyant with this. Really revisiting it, knowing what we know now, with her brazen conclusion that Newt should deal with his anger issues from that moment on, I equated the Kelly file to the circular file. This is really, this reminds me of what we just watched with Shepard Smith. Okay, Shepard Smith is totally unhinged, just revealing, that he's so anti-Trump he cannot see clearly. And he's using these suspicious packages to just to embolden him to attack the Donald. Okay, so going on with this article, the Me Too movement's precursor, though they had destroyed the one conservative outlet on TV, Fox News Channel, when they drove out Roger Ailes and Bill O'Reilly, soon enough Greta Van Susteren somehow apparently got it in her head, and then he goes on to talk about how she eventually got fired. And so he talks about that eventually Megyn Kelly, she leaves Fox News, okay, and then she gets this, super lucrative deal with NBC. All right. He goes on and talks about this evolution, and then talks about how Mitch McConnell stood up against Merrick Garland. So it's just this is great. I mean, this whole article is just well worth your time. And then so then Megyn Kelly, and actually this author goes on and on about how he loves Laura Ingraham. He just loves it. Him and his wife set the alarm for 10:59, and then they plop down in front of the TV and watch Laura Ingraham. And so then he refers back to Joseph Stalin. Okay, hang in there. And so what Joseph Stalin would do, it's not so funny really, but Joseph Stalin would take his political enemies, okay, he'd whisk them off in the middle of the night secretly to these and torture them. He literally would torture them until they would finally confess that they were wrong and that they were attacking his government and that the Stalin government was really awesome. And then they would get in front of the cameras or write a confession in front of the people, make these big confessions, and then after they made their confessions, Stalin would take them off and shoot them and kill them. So he refers to Megyn Kelly going through this, this same experience. The same experience. And so Megyn Kelly, as she talked about black faces, she talked about it was okay if a white person wanted to dress up like Diana Ross, someone they really looked up to, that it would be okay to put a black face, like I guess put makeup on to look like Diana Ross. Oh my heavens. Okay, so the floodgates went crazy on her. Okay, so the next day, you should watch it. I mean, it's painful. But this author refers back to the movie Network. Now, I never did see the movie Network, but there is a terribly amazing, funny scene where, let's see if I can find who that is. It's truly super funny. I can't find it right now. Oh, yeah, here we go. And so in Network, let's see. Peter Finch's Howard Beale madly rambles at his studio audience whatever he seeks to spout, then collapses on stage and is rewarded with a standing ovation. Okay, so it is hilarious, and he's got a link to that scene at YouTube. It's really funny. So anyone who saw the movie Network will probably remember that. It's hilarious. And then you compare that. No, and you should really take the time to do this. And if you compare that to Megyn Kelly, so her confession, she's in tears. The author mentions that she was a prosecuting attorney for Jones Day. I mean, she a serious lawyer, a tough woman. And so here's Megyn Kelly just totally broken, just like what Joseph Stalin would do to his captors. Totally broken, in tears, going on and about how she's learning now, how she's terribly sorry, and like she'll never do this again. And then at the end of Megyn Kelly's apology on her show, the people immediately stand up and they're clapping and they're giving her a big standing ovation. And this author uses this little poem to as a synopsis of this. Amazing clapping embrace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like she. She once was lost, but now was found, was blind, but now PC. And so after Megyn Kelly does her groveling and her apology in here, what do? They shoot her. They not literally, but she's fired. She's gone. She's done. This is where the Donald, as I mentioned yesterday, is so awesome. He is so non-PC. This PC it's fake. It is totally for the cameras. It is total PC nonsense. Like all this transgender stuff and stuff. No one really believes this nonsense. It is just so fake. for a gay couple to go in and force a Christian baker to bake a cake for them? I mean, no one really believes that that should happen. That is just absolutely retarded. Okay? To force people to bully them into baking a cake? What the heck? No way. Ridiculous. And so basically, in summing up on this article, and now as you watch replays of the sadly pathetic confession and dismantling of the soul of Megyn Kelly before her axing, now that you are seeing what they are doing to almost every high school graduate who now enters virtually any American college except for Liberty University, Hillsdale College, Yeshiva University, Toro College, and a few Christian colleges. I would like to think that Brigham Young University's in there, our church's college, but even Brigham Young, there's a lot of liberalism there. They take creative minds and free spirits and spiritual souls and they destroy them. They beat them down and shatter them. They make clear that they will deny them a future. Mockery at the university, bad grades, harassment in the dorms, no social. This is really true. I have friends in college who are encountering this stuff. It is totally unbelievable. This thought police, this American thought police. Well, oh, wow. So anyhow, I could go on for hours on that, but I just really would love for you guys to check that out. This is just so ridiculous. It's just unbelievable. Just look what happened to Megyn Kelly. You know, this forced confession, and then they axe her. They kill her. Show. So anyhow, but okay, let's oppose that to the Donald. Last night he's in North Carolina, and yes, he goes on. Okay, I love this. I love this. He says, we have seen an effort by the media in recent hours to use the sinister actions of one individual to score political points against me and the Republican Party. This is the Donald speaking. This is at Charlotte, North Carolina. Political violence must never be allowed in America, and I'll do everything in my power to stop it. The media has a major role to play whether they want it or not. Okay, then the people in the rally started saying, CNN sucks, CNN sucks. They chant that. Okay, this is not inciting violence. I mean, CNN really does suck. I mean, it's unbelievably biased against the president. Okay, they're not even pretending to be fair anymore. It's just outrageous propaganda. And then the Donald says, they have a major role to play as far as tone, as far as everything. The media's constant unfair coverage, deep hostility, and negative attacks only serve to drive people apart and to undermine healthy debate. Trump recalled the Republicans did not use the aftermath of the Steve Scalise shooting by a left-wing radical to score political points. Then Donald says, this is a Breitbart article, by the way, we did not use that heinous attempt at mass murder for political gain because that would have been the wrong thing to do, he said. Oh, I love it. I love it. The media has tried to attack the incredible Americans who support our movement to give power back to the people. Our supporters are some of the most honest, wonderful, principled, hardworking, patriarchal people on the face of God's earth. I love that. I love that. The Donald yesterday was at the Young Black Leaders Leadership Conference, and I think they were in the White House. Awesome. Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk involved in this, Donald Trump Jr. I mean, this is incredible stuff. You probably will never see that on CNN. Okay, you'll never see that news there. Okay, which is really sad. But that's what we're talking about here. Okay, that's really talking about. People just turning these events into partisan attacks. Really, it's not fair. You saw Shepard Smith trying to do it. Chris Wallace totally schooled him. The Donald is so non-PC. I just love it. Americans are fed up with that. Americans are all about fairness. I've mentioned before, we'll wait in a line. The line might be really long, but we'll wait in line because it's fair, right? Because the first person who got there is ahead of you. But when there is cutting in line, Americans do not like that. This is my huge biff with affirmative action. It is not fair. This is my huge biff with immigration. These people who illegally come into this country, that's not fair to the people who are waiting in line. Okay, it totally unhinges the law and order that we really need. I mean, it's all about fairness, and Americans love fairness. I love it. I love it. Oh, the Donald's doing so great these elections. This will be really exciting. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen. But I tell you, I think the Republicans are on fire. Barry goes, he has these rallies. There's hardly anyone there. Donald's rallies are just amazing. They are just amazing rallies. Well, I thank you for listening. I wanted to close like I usually try to. I want to close on some uplifting thing. Sometimes I'm ranting and raving, getting a little negative. I started this podcast because I wanted it to be optimistic, because I feel very optimistic. And some people get really down. And I was meeting a lot of my friends wanted to support Donald, but they were down, and just the media that they were consuming was just depressing them. 92% of the media reports, stories are against the Donald. It's just really not fair. And so I wanted to cheer people up. I wanted to have a little bit more of an optimistic look in things. And so that's why I started this podcast. And I wanted people not to be afraid to support Donald, because we'll get bullied. And we'll get yelled at and cussed at, and I have when I support Donald. But I just feel very strongly that as Americans, we need to stand up for what's right, even if we're going to get bullied. So I wanted to start this podcast to kind of rally the troops a little bit and to support Donald and to support, the things that he stands for. Pro-life, small government, low taxes, pro-military, get the government out of our lives. Obamacare is a disaster, to make these kind of changes. I wanted to close with a scripture from John 14:6. Jesus said unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. Oh, that's so true. I'm Philip Koerper. This is the Philip Koerper Show. Copyright 2018. You guys have a beautiful day.